Trigger warning, this video contains extremely graphic narrations of all the following listed crimes. If you find yourself uncomfortable with any of the displayed ones, this may not be the right content for you. Please pause the video and carefully reconsider your options if you choose to continue. Naoki Urasawa's Monster is arguably one of the greatest pieces of fiction ever written. In my opinion, what makes it stand out from all the other edgy animes and novels which wish to tackle the same issues is its rawness. It doesn't hide the fact that evil can be created, it doesn't beat around the bush about trauma, manipulation, conditioning, and the idea that a villain, a monster, can be created and can be naturally born. A monster can exist in whatever shape or form. An army of brainwashed children in an orphanage, a ruthless government that programs children into being perfect soldiers entirely at their disposal, a reincarnation of Satan himself with ideals so twisted it can corrupt even the purest of minds. Monster episode 49, titled The Cruelest Thing, is the darkest, most traumatic and sadistic 20 minutes I have ever experienced in fiction. This episode doesn't hold back. It demonstrates pure corruption of the mind from the greatest villain of all time, Johan Liebert. Now seriously, once you experience this episode, you will never be the same. The episode starts with the character Milos, a small boy, barely even 10 years old, getting scolded by a caregiver in the foster home he stayed at, run by this shady-looking creep called Mikhail Petrov, who coincidentally was murdered in the previous episode. Milos and a group of boys were out to prove the innocence of this nigger called Wolfgang Grimmer, a person of interest by the police who was framed for that said murder. Hold on to that name, we'll get to it in a minute. Milos had a strong lead for the identity of the murder. In his own description, a beautiful blonde bitch was the one who committed the act because he had a brief glimpse of it. However, the said blonde girl ended up kidnapping him, and this makes the other kids panic. Why was Mikhail Petrov murdered? Having been part of the inner circle of the 511 Kinderheim experiments, he tried to recreate the experiments by bringing up the Czech orphan children in the opposite way the 511 children were brought up, with love. 511 Kinderheim was an orphanage in former East Germany where a series of terrifying and inhumane psychological experiments were performed, to which Johan Liebert, Wolfgang Grimmer, and an unspecified number of other children were subjected during their stay there. One evening, Mikhail Petrov encountered Wolfgang Grimmer at the pub, who at this point did a shitload of research on him. Grimmer was constantly questioning Mr. Petrov about 511, but Petrov refused to answer on any of his questions, telling him to fuck off.
Get lost.
Sorry, I'm gonna follow you everywhere until I get the information I'm after.
Grimmer, once a product of the sadistic Kinderheim 511, is now a freelance journalist whose sole agenda, sole purpose, the sole thing driving him every morning, every night, to expose it all. Grimmer thinks that Petrov is continuing the experiments from 511 and is threatening Petrov that he'll report him to the police. Grimmer later went to play football with the children that he was investigating, but was stunned when he noticed how happy the children were. When they told him that they love living with Petrov, Grimmer went to the apartment and the group followed him. The children stayed in front of the building and noticed a beautiful lady coming out. Here's the problem with Grimmer and, well, everyone who's an alumni at this wicked ass school. They literally have no emotions. Years of being subjected to cruel experiments led them to feeling numb and plain to any emotions. It is impossible to fear, fall in love, get angry, be happy. Hell, these freaking weirdos can't even make us smile. He literally had to go to a special school to learn how to express emotions. He once had a family with a kid who sadly passed away and he had absolutely no idea what to feel. I want this to sink in. Imagine being so void of emotion, so void of expression, you literally have no idea what to feel when your child dies. Yeah, they are just a shell of actual humans with almost no therapy available to cure them. Again, remember that this will be very important to this story. Grimmer is accompanied by Dr. Kenzo Tenma, the protagonist of the story, who is also wanted by the police for other crimes that he obviously never committed. Dr. Tenma also saved Johan Liebert when he was a kid from a life-threatening head injury from a gun the same night his parents were murdered. Johan Liebert is a serial killer and a former patient of Dr. Kenzo Tenma, as well as the older twin brother of Anna Liebert. I'm going to put a lot of emphasis on the twin part because this nigga looked exactly like his sister. Hell, even cross-dressed as her occasionally. Let's just call him bi-curious.
And I'm bi-curious.
One personality of Johan Liebert is how surprisingly good he is at persuading and luring people to do his bidding. It's almost hypnotic because no one even notices what happens until it happens. Alright, that's enough backstory for everyone needed. Now get ready to be traumatized. So, Johan Liebert kidnaps this kid Milos into his apartment. Well, it isn't kidnapping per se, but you know, it's one of those situations you just end up with him and can't escape even if you wanted to. Remember when I said Johan Liebert is a cross-dresser? Well, yeah, he's now dressing up as his sister once again. Don't even ask me why, it's just a kink he loves doing. He uses the excuse of disguising and impersonating her so that all crimes he commits goes back to her, but bro, come on. Who are you kidding? We know what you are. On top of looking for the killer, who was obviously Johan Liebert, Milos was also looking for his mom, like he always does. It was a routine that Johan Liebert picked up on when he was spying on the Foster family and decided to use it against him. Then again, remember, he lives in an orphanage, so chances are he doesn't even have a photo of her. But somehow he is convinced he'll recognize her and vice versa. Until Johan Liebert asks him a very straightforward question to the point.
I'll know my mom when I see her face. I'm gonna know her face for sure. Count on it. Really? Even if you did find your mother, what if she acts like she doesn't know you? Think you were born because you were wanted? I mean, why were you abandoned? Could it be that your mother left you because she hated you? No way! There's nothing special about being born. Not a thing. Death is a normal thing. So why live? You think you were wanted? Who wanted you? So what is your reason for living? Tell me.
Wow, this is just a 7-year-old kid fully optimistic to see his mother, and in just 1 minute, Johan Liebert crushes all hope and optimism he had with harsh reality. He had absolutely no reason to do that, but he did it, just because he can and because this is all a game to him. He loves this, tormenting and mentally torturing his victims to despair. He fucking loves this. But here's the thing though, you think this was tough? You think this was a bit too harsh? Boy, we're just getting started. Cut back to Tenma and Wolfgang Grima looking for Johan. Apparently, he managed to build a false relationship with the whole community cosplaying as Anna Liebert. He went as far as renting a house, making routine greetings to everyone in the area and building this fake image of a friendly neighbor. This was all a ruse to build trust and avoid suspicion because the main reason he was doing all this was to kill Mikhail Petrov without raising any suspicions. Mikhail Petrov was the one person who was able to overcome the wicked system of Kinderheim 511, a system trained to condition human beings into nothing more than tools. Tools for use and vessels that serve no other purpose, a shell of flesh with no humanity. Petrov was the kryptonite to Johan Liebert's ultimate goal of bringing despair to the world. The one guy who was a victim of the system, who took part in the system, who was going against the system. If it meant that Johan had to blend in for this to work by smiling, saying hi to everyone and fostering a community, so be it. Unfortunately, Johan and Grima were always one step behind and a little bit too late. This is the part that Grima ought to feel some sort of guilt and remorse because a kid got into trouble by getting kidnapped by a serial killer all in the name of proving his innocence. But this is what he says.
What should I do now? If you know, tell me. How is a person supposed to react to a situation this terrible? Those boys got involved in all this because they were trying to prove my innocence.
That's the depth of 511 Kinderheim experiments. He cannot feel guilt when he endangered a kid who was trying to prove his innocence. He cannot feel sorrow when his own son passed away. He knows he's supposed to feel something, but for the life of him, he just can't. He only got married because a random chick saw him reading a newspaper and said that she liked him, and he in turn used it as a cover for being a spy. In reality, he never even loved his own family. Dr. Kenzo Tenma brings Grima back to reality and narrates the danger that lies for the little boy kidnapped by Johan. Tenma has seen the monster face to face. He's experienced it. He fears for the boy and he knows what Johan Liebert is about to do. No, he won't kill him, but he's going to do worse. Then maybe kill him. Johan leads Milos to the Czech red lights district, where a bunch of hookers and all manner of sin is committed. I can't believe I even have to say this, but a 7-year-old kid has absolutely no business being here. When I say Johan Liebert is pure evil, this is what I mean. Johan already knew who his mother was, a hooker, and he wanted to bust the boy's bubble of what he was expecting his mom to be. Again, he poses the same question he asked earlier.
If it should happen that nobody calls out to you, then that means you aren't wanted by anyone in the world. What will you do with yourself then? I'm coming, Mom!
Knowing that might be a higher possibility, he crushes any trace of optimism Milo has. Johan doesn't want to just break him. He wants to end him and push him to complete despair. Alright, this part is about to get dark. Exterior. Dusk. An 8-year-old boy trapped in the middle of a red light district surrounded by hookers looking for his mother, waiting for the call if she knows him. Will she call out to him or will she pretend she doesn't recognize him? Will the words of Johan come to fruition or is there a light at the end of the tunnel? Every single minute that passes, every single sight he sees, every single encounter he has, his hopes fall into despair. An innocent kid surrounded by all the 7 deadly sins, trying to fight them all just to see his mother, even for a brief Second, deeper and deeper, everything he sees will forever be scarred into his mind. This is now his core memory. This is what his mother abandoned him for. And after all that, after all the effort, all the hope, all the suffering, all the trauma suffered within one night, Milos is left alone. Alone in the rain, alone in the cold, alone in the world. Johan's words turn out to be true. No one indeed wanted him. It was nothing more than an inconvenience at birth. And finally, he snaps. He breaks. He crumbles in defeat. This is trauma. This is despair. This is what Johan wanted him to see. Later that night, Grimar and Dr. Tenma finally reached to where Milos was. And for the first time, Dr. Grimar has something authentic within him. Emotions. He's scared for the boy. He feels guilty that he was responsible to put him in that situation. For the first time, he is worried and devastated, not for himself, but for another human being. But at what cost? The young innocent Milos who ran up the road to see his mother is gone, may never come back. But on the bright side, for the first time ever, Grimar shows emotions, and not just any emotion, empathy. He demonstrates the ability to understand and share something he never had when his son died, when his wife left him, or when he was married. For the first time in his life, he actually became human. But at what cost? Naoki Urasawa's Monster is one of the greatest animes ever made, and it's kinda sad that not many people talk about it. I really hope this video does enough to convince you to go watch it. But again, the disclaimer still stands. This anime is not for the weak. This is the darkest anime, and even though it tackles deep, traumatic events, the writing is always there to back it up. Arguably, this is one of the greatest pieces of fiction I've ever read. And in case you've never seen it or heard of it, please go read or watch Monster by Naoki Urasawa. You'll thank me later. Kwaheri.